Hi guys, my name is Poonam from SSB Technologies. I welcome you to this session where you can learn and understand what Python is. Now, before we get started, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification for all our future videos. With that, let's go ahead with today's agenda. We shall understand what Python exactly is. Why is Panda so popular when compared to other programming languages? Application areas where Python is used. We shall look after some well-known industries which make use of Python. Later on, we'll be saying how to install Python. Finally, we can take a look at some basics of Python. Let's move ahead with the first topic. What is Python? Before that, let us talk something about when was Python created. Python was created 40 years ago. The language was not that popular those days as it was a little slow when compared to other programming languages. But now, with the rise of machine learning and artificial intelligence, this language is in demand and one of the most popular language. Python is a high-level programming language, which means it is human understandable. This language is designed for easy to read. Basically, it's designed in such a way that it is easy to read and as well as simple to implement. Python is an open source, which means we can use it freely, so we don't have to pay. Python can run on Mac, Windows, and Unix systems. Let's move ahead with the second topic, why Python? You guys would be wondering why Python and not any other programming languages such as C, C++, Java. Here are some of the reasons. Firstly, it is simple. Python has an easy syntax that makes it one of the best programming languages. Secondly, Python is free of charge. So basically it is an open source program which can be used by anybody and it is for free. Third reason is Python has various libraries and these libraries have many functions in it. Also, according to the latest research, in 2019, Python was ranked #1 programming language. Also, Python is a user-friendly. It is easy to learn, easy to access. Now, let us look at some applications of Python. So here are some applications of Python. First, Python is useful in web development and internet development. It makes use of these framework, that is Django and Flask. So using this framework, we can build web application and internet. Secondly, Python is widely used in scientific and numerical computation. Libraries such as SciPy and Pandas are used, where SciPy is used for mathematical engineering computations and Pandas is used for data analysis. Python is also used in development of interactive games. Libraries such as Pygame, it provides functionalities for game development. Lastly, Python is also used in machine learning and artificial intelligence. As we know that machine learning and artificial intelligence are most promising career for our future, and one must know Python to work with machine learning and artificial intelligence. So here's a picture which shows how we can train our machines so that it can do stuffs automatically. Okay. Hoping that you guys have understood, let's move ahead. And now let us talk about where is Python used in industries. Okay, why don't we look at some few well-known companies who uses Python? First one is Google. Google is the most well-known tech giant that uses Python. Secondly, we can see a Dropbox. Dropbox is basically a cloud platform that is used to save data online. In Dropbox, the client and server app have been coded using Python. Thirdly, Netflix. Netflix uses machine learning with Python for giving recommendation to the users. Last, NASA. NASA uses Python for cybersecurity analysis and for encrypting and decrypting the messages. So these are some of the industries that makes use of Python. Next, let's move on how to install Python. Python is pre-installed in some of the Unix systems, but the installed version is 2.6.2 or 3.1.1, which are the older versions. So to download the new version, you can go to Google and type python.org, or you can use this link. And once you type this, you'll get a screen like this. So you have to just go to downloads and click on download Python 3.8.5. So Python 3.8.5 is the latest version of Python. So once the installation is done, we'll move on to the next topic. And the next topic is basic data types. You guys would be wondering, how do we get started off with learning Python? Let me help you with it. We'll start learning first the basic concepts such as data types, the different types of data type and variables, so on. So the basic types, data types in Python are integer, float, and string, wherein integer is a number, float is something that can be represented in decimal, and string is nothing but if you're writing a group of characters within double coded or single coded, it is nothing but string. In Python, the double inverted commas and the single inverted commas are same. Now, let us look at some examples which we would be doing in Jupyter Notebook. So guys, let us start with variables. What are variables? Variables are used to reserve memory location used to store values. So what are variables? So in Python, if I give shift hash, this is used as a command line. This is used as a comment. So if I give hash and if I write something, variable. So what is a variable? A variable is used to hold a value. Okay. So if I give shift enter, I go to the next line. So there are some naming rules of variable. So there are some naming rules for variable. First one, I'm so sorry, let me just go back. So first one, variable can only contain letter, number, and underscore. Okay. The second rule says that variable name should start with a letter or underscore. Third rule says that spaces are not allowed in variables. Okay, but we can instead use underscore. Okay, the last rule says variable name should be descriptive. Okay, so now let us look into each of these. So let me just create a new line. The first rule says variable can only contain letter, number, and underscore. So let me give an example. Message underscore 1 is equal to hello world. Hello world. So let's just enter. Let's just run this. You can do that by giving shift and enter. So yes. So first rule says variable can contain letter, number, and underscore. So letter, number, and underscore. The second rule says variable name should start with a letter or underscore. So variable name should start with a letter or underscore, right? So let me give an example for variable name starting with a letter. So message 1. So message is equal to hey. So it's not showing an error. Okay. So variable name should start with a letter. It's right. And underscore. So let me give an example with underscore. So underscore message is equal to hello. So let me print. So I should give shift and enter. So it doesn't throw an error. So here it says variable name should start with a letter or underscore. So it says that it can't start with a number. So let us try with a number. So 1 message. Bye. So let's see whether it throws an error or not. Yes, it throws an error. So variable name should only start with a letter and an underscore. It cannot start with a number. Got it? The third rule is spaces are not allowed in variables, but underscores can be used. So let me try my space message is equal to hello. So it should throw an error. Yes. So we can't have space. So let me just copy paste the same thing and let me replace this space with an underscore and let me run the program by using shift and enter. See, so a variable cannot have space, but it can have underscore. Okay, variable name should be descriptive. In the sense, variable name should not be too long. It does take it, but it makes sense to give it a short name. Okay, got it? Hoping that you guys have understood. Let's move ahead to another topic in Python. called list. So list. Mark down. And if I give shift enter, it shows me. So what is a list? A list is a data type that allows you to store various type of data in it. So let me write it here. What is a list? A list is a data type that allows you to store various types of data in it. So what are the types of data it allows to store in it? The data types are integer, comma, float, comma, string. Okay. So let us look into how to create a list. So create a list. So if I just give a markdown, this is basically used for documentation. So how do we create a list? So to create the list, all you have to do is to place the items inside a square bracket, which is nothing but this. So this is a square bracket. Okay. So let us create a list. So let me create a list saying list1 is equal to, so square brackets, so square brackets, inside the square brackets, I can place a list, say example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how do we create a list? Give a variable name is equal to square bracket and the items should be separated with commas. Okay. So if I give shift enter, it's not throwing an error. So now I want to check, like, is it a list or what? The data type. So is this list1 a list, or is it an integer, or is it in float? So how do I do that? I have to just give type of the variable name. What is the variable name? List1. So if I give shift enter, it will show me list. So it will show me that the list which I've created is a list. Okay. Similar way, I can create a list. Here I've created a list only with integers. So here here, as the definition says, list can have various data types like integer, float, and string. So let me give an example where a list has integer, float, and string. So list with integer, float, comma, string. Okay. So let me give an variable name mix list, which is equal to square brackets 1, 2, 3 are integers, and let me give a string Python. So now let me run shift and enter, and let me see the type of variable. Is this a list or not? So how do I do that? Type of mix list. That is my variable name. So if I give shift enter, it will show me that yes, it is a list. The second topic in list is nothing but accessing the items of a list. So how can I access an item of a list? The syntax to access the items of a list is list variable name. Basically, you can say variable name square bracket index. Okay, so let us look at an example. So let me take a small example. Numbers is my variable name, is equal to, let me give some numbers, 11, 12, 13, 14, 100. Okay, so my list is created. So how do I access the first element? Remember, in index, in list, the indexing starts with 0. So this is the 0th index, this is the first index, second index, third index, and fourth index. So if I want to access 11, the first number, I have to give variable name 0. So 0th index, it would give me 11. Okay. In the same way, if I give numbers of, say I want to access this last element, how can I do that? So 0th index, first, second, third, and fourth. So if I give numbers of 4, okay, and if I give shift enter, it will give me 100. So this is how you access an element in index. Okay, got it? There's another rule in list. List index cannot be a float value. Say for example, I'm trying to give a float number inside the index. So numbers of 1.0. So it will throw me an error saying list indices must be an integer. Okay, so list integer must be a number, not float. Okay, the next topic which I'm going to talk about in list is negative indexing. So negative index to access the list items from the end. Okay, say I want to access the last element of an index. How do I do that? So let me show an example. Say I have a variable number which is equal to 11, 22, 33, 100, 200, and 300. Okay, so if I give shift enter, a list has been created. Say I want to access the last element of the list. So remember, in negative indexing, there's a point to be noted. In negative indexing, it starts, the count starts with -1. Okay, so let me give an example. So if I want to access this last element, what should I give? Number of -1. So if I give shift enter, it'll give me the last element. So from positive side, if you're trying to index, like if you want to access the 11th element, first element, what do you give? Number of 0. If you want to access the last element from the right hand side, what do you give? Number of -1. It will give you 300. Got it? In the same way, I can access number of -3. So what should it give? -1, -2, -3. So it should give me 100. So it's giving me 100. Okay. So before we were using index only to access an element, right? So we were using before we were using index only to access the contents. We can also use index as an assignment operator. Okay, so let me give you an example. Basket is equal to bread, butter, and milk. Okay, say for example, this is a list which I've created. Okay, so this list has a nature called mutable. Mutable. So what is mutable? Mutable is nothing but we can change the values of list. And how can we do that? We can do that using index. Okay, so here's a list which has been created. Now, say for example, I want to change the first value. Say here, I want to change the bread with cake. So how do I do it? Basket, as we know the first element index is 0. So basket of 0 is equal to cake. Okay, so if I do shift, enter, and now when I try to print basket again, basket, so if I do shift, enter, see. So the bread is replaced with cake. Similar way, I want to change this last element that is milk with say eggs. So how do I do it? Basket of last element, how can we access it? Using -1 is equal to egg. So if I give shift enter, and if I try to print the new, if I try to print the list, I can see milk is replaced with eggs. Got it? In list, we can also perform deletion mechanism. So deletion mechanism. Say I don't want this cake, so I want to remove it. How do I remove it? So I have to just give a function called del, which means delete basket of, say I want to delete cake. So what is the index of cake? 0. So if I give shift enter, and if I try to print basket, I can see that cake is being removed. In the same way, I want to remove this egg. So how do I do it? Del basket of -1. So if I try to print basket, it gives me only butter because egg and cake both have been removed. Okay. List has few other methods. So list has few methods such as index, comma, count, comma, remove, comma, sort, comma, append. So I'll explain you all of these. So first one is, let me go with append. So example, I have a list li and it has items 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I give shift enter, a list has been created. Okay, so first I'm going to use append function. Append function. Okay, so if I just give list name, that is li dot append is a function. Append, if I open the parenthesis, and append is nothing but it is used to add a new element. So basically I want to add say B, A, I want to add A in the list, a string A. So if I just give li dot append, if I give shift enter, and if I try to print the list, I can see that A is being placed. Okay. The second function which I'm going to use is index. So index function. Second function which I'm going to use is index. Okay. So if I give, I'm going to apply it in the same list. Okay. So if I give li dot index of, okay, let me create a new list for this. So li is equal to li1 is equal to, let me give an index a comma b comma c comma b. Okay, so I'm creating a list and I'm giving shift enter, and now I'm trying to perform the index operation. So if I give li1 dot index, you want to find the index of which variable? Say, for example, I want to find the index of b. So if I just pass b, and if I give shift enter, it will say me 1. So it is not going to give the index of this. Instead, it will give the index of this. It will basically give you the index of first occurrence. So index, it will give you first occurrence. AC. Got it? Okay. Now, let me use an count function. So in this list, we have 2b, right? So if I give b, it should tell me the count, how many times b is repeating. So this function is count function. Okay. So count is used to give the number of occurrence. Okay. So if I give li1 dot count, I want to find the count of b. So if I give shift enter, it'll say me 2. Okay. Say I want to remove this b. I don't want this b. I don't want the, I want only one b in my list. So what do I do it? li1 variable name dot remove of b. So what it will do? If I give shift enter, and if I print the li1 now, so it is removed the first b. It will always perform operation on the first b because this is the first occurrence. So before going here, it will just come here and it will remove the b. Okay, got it? I hope all of you know what Python is and why everybody is loving it so much. I hope all of you would consider learning Python. This brings you to the end of this session. Happy learning and thank you.